Welcome, everyone, to an unscheduled live stream. Today, I am back in San Miguel de Allende, back home. Um, and I know that my channel's been a little bit, how would you say, chaotic in the sense that I haven't posted a lot. Hey, Cable Woodcraft, Buck Stops here, Blaine Dottis. I'd like to say hello. And uh, on the Baja Road, I saw for the first time the National Guard stop on roadside, and they had an internet satellite from Starlink. Oh wow! Um, Actually, I'll put this up here. Um, so I haven't really been very active lately. One of the things is that I had told you that I was going to be away for a little while because I was in Monterrey. I was actually our house. We sold it, and but we had to bring back furniture. Not only that, but my son got operated on, so I was in pretty much busy the whole time. I wasn't able to. I have my mobile stream set up, but I wasn't able to really get a stream in. We were really busy the whole month and a half that I was gone, and I tried to get some videos out before I left. I got two out. Um, but I wanted to let everybody know I'm back in San Miguel de Allende. We'll be back to our weekly live streams. Ask me anything you want or make comments about your life here in Mexico. Um, so uh, basically, I come on every week and answer your questions about Mexico. I try to keep it to a subject of a video that I've created. Um, the couple of things that I've noticed new in Mexico, a couple of things that actually Mexit Plans did a video on it, and I'll probably do a video on it, but just probably a little bit repetitive. But looks like Mexican customs is starting to look at laptops coming into the United States, or electronics coming into Mexico, not the United States, Mexico. And it started in Cancun. There's been incidents in other places. But what they basically do is if you get the red, they have a green light, red light system in most airports, or they send you to secondary, or they put your stuff through the x-ray machine. But what they're basically doing is stopping people, and people that have basically two laptops, they're finding them. It's not really fines. They're paying, you're having to pay taxes based on the value of the laptop. Um, and here's the unique thing about what's going on right now is that they're considering iPads a laptop now. It used to be two cell phones or several cell phones, one laptop computer. And I know this has created problems because people bring their laptop and their iPad, and now they're considering the iPad a computer. So now if you have an iPad and a laptop, then you might get stopped at the airport and charged customs duties or fined because you didn't declare it. If you declare it, they're probably still going to be charging customs duty. And so um, basically, hey, Mark, how's it going? To travelers in Mexico. So that's been going on lately. I've heard a couple of reports from different airports. When I first saw this, it was in Cancun. So for all of you that use your laptops and for work, some people have one laptop for work and one laptop for personal use. You need to be aware of this law, okay? And so uh, this is why I am bringing this up, because people might get caught off guard and saying, hey, this is an iPad. And before, it used to be that they counted like a tablet like a phone. I don't know if they counted a tablet, but they wouldn't give you a hard time. Hey, Stephanie, how's it going? I'm glad to be home. The only thing is we've got our house full of stuff. We need to do a lot of um, um, uh, unpacking. And actually, can you update us on your house damage situation? Actually, to travelers, what we ended up doing is selling the house back to the builder. That's why I was in Monterrey, basically moving a bunch of stuff back. We sold a lot of the furniture and stuff that was in that house, but basically sold it back to the contractor. We entered into a contract. We haven't gotten paid totally yet, but basically we have a sales contract that hopefully we'll have the money by November. And they're paying in payments. So that's basically the situation on the house. And basically that's what happened. We ended up just deciding that we're going to stay in San Miguel de Allende full time, and we're going to travel. Actually, that's another thing that I want to address here. Things are, I'm not saying they're getting more dangerous on the roads, but I'm getting a little bit older, so we're not traveling as much. Highway 57 is a major route that goes that way. We've been running into a lot of accidents. Um, it's kind of dangerous to go back and forth. We started realizing that there's the crime rate has started to go up, and they've taken down a lot of the major cartel leaders here in Mexico. So there's a lot of a fight. There's a lot of fight for power right now. So we might see the roads get a little bit more violent right now. So we decided we're going to pretty much stay here. And if we need to go back to Monterrey or the United States, we're just going to fly. That's just what, so that's what basically we're going to do. I'm probably going to do a video about that, just letting people know. Of course, we have a new administration. We don't know what they're going to do about security. The only thing that I can note about the administration, the new administration, Sheinbaum, she has put out a top 100 priorities of the administration. And guess where security is on that list? It's number 100. It's actually the least important on their priorities. We don't know what's going to happen because the United States might start putting pressure on Mexico. So we'll have to see how it uh, plays out. Um, I don't know. I can tell you how it's going to play out. Let me see here. Quebec Woodcraft has a question. So if you brought an iPad or a laptop in Mexico, you have to travel with your receipt. I would travel with a receipt. Here's the reason why. Um, if you bring one laptop in, you're fine, or one iPad in, you're fine. But if they stop you, and let's say you bought a used iPad, let's say this iPad is used, but it's I don't know, the new iPad Pro 4 M4, the brand new one that's $1,500. Okay, but let's say you bought it used for $500, okay, on eBay or whatever, and you have the receipt, they'll only charge you the taxes on that $500. If you don't have a receipt, they're going to go to the internet and see how much a brand new M4 iPad costs, and they're going to say you owe taxes on $1,500. So that's very important to bring your receipts. The other thing that's important to realize too is when you're flying in, you also have $500. If you're flying in, it's $500. If you're driving in, it's $300. And after November, I forgot, I think it's November 1st, it increases, but each person in your party has an allowance of $500. So let's say you bring in two laptops. Well, first of all, let's say you bring in an iPad and a laptop. Your spouse or whoever you're traveling with can claim one of the laptops. You can claim one of the computers, so you won't have to pay anything. Or the other thing you can do is, for example, like I said, you paid $500 for that or $400 for that iPad. You have the receipt. You're well within your $500 of stuff that you can bring in. On the land borders, it's $300. Um, uh, if you got it in Mexico, here's the other thing. If you got it in Quebec Woodcraft, if you got your iPad in Mexico, and I meant to do a video, when you leave the country, and here's the thing, I actually took, when I went to McAllen, when we were building our house, and I took a lot of my YouTube equipment because I actually asked customs, hey, I have all this stuff that's already in Mexico. And if I take it out of Mexico and I bring it back, what do I do? What you can do is you go to customs and you declare it on your way out. You go early to the airport and say, here's my 3 laptops. Even if you take 3 laptops out, they fill out a form. Okay. You fill out a form, and you got to be kind of insistent about it, because I did it on the land border. They probably didn't know much. And they kind of said, well, you need a receipt that you bought. And I said, look, they're in Mexico. I mean, either I purchased them in the United States, brought them across with my allowance, or I purchased them in Mexico. So all of this equipment's in Mexico. So why should I be getting charged taxes? They let me fill out a form. I filled out a form with a full inventory, the serial numbers of all my items. And when I came back to Mexico, actually we got stopped. Believe it or not, we got stopped on the red light. Normally we don't get the red light, but we did get stopped, and I just showed them the form that I had all this equipment in the back. Here's my form from customs saying that I took it out of Mexico. So there is a process to take, and this is very important for people that are working remotely, or let's say you work remotely and you live in Mexico but you work remotely and you have to take those two laptops back, or you want to take your iPad and your work laptop back. There is a process where you can go to SAT on the way out and fill out a form. It's a very basic generic form, and they stamp it and they seal it and they sign it. And then when you come back in, you declare your items that you took out of Mexico and you bring them back in. So, and Quebec, if you have your receipt, they would, if you show them, hey, I bought this in Mexico, they're not, they shouldn't give you a problem. But there is a way to register your stuff going out. And I even put what I did was I put a spreadsheet with everything, because I had a whole list of equipment. I had cameras, video equipment, everything. And I did a whole spreadsheet, and then I just say see attached on the inventory. But there is a customs form that you can fill out. I lost the form, so I couldn't tell you which form it is, but I'm going to do some research. And I think that's important that I do a video on that. I was going to do it when I went to McAllen, and I just never got around to it. And, um, if I never got around to doing that video, but there is a process. And I said, hey, wait a second. I know a lot of, but I never really thought about it because they were very lax on enforcing this. I just had like $5,000, $4,000 worth of equipment that I was going to be bringing back in, and God forbid they stop me and say, hey, you bought it in the United States and you're going to have to pay 30% on it, or whatever the taxes is. So I did it, but there is a way now to do it if you're taking your laptop and your stuff out of the country and bringing them back in. And there's a form that you fill out with SAT or with customs at the airport. You find the customs at the airport and you fill out that form. Or if you're leaving by land, when you go, I had to go over to the customs office where you declare stuff coming in, and I had to fill out that form. So you can, and now it's probably a little bit more important that I do that video, because there are people that travel back with a laptop and an iPad, or two work laptops, and they have it in the United States, or they have it in Mexico, and they need to take it out and bring it back in. It's assumed, I'm just saying, am I breaking up? Yeah, you know what? I can see I'm kind of breaking up here. Let's see. Can you hear me okay? My internet connect. I was kind of my video was kind of going back and forth. But basically, there is a form. Okay, let's see here. I don't know if I can set this. No, I can't change the stream size. I've been having some very weird internet problems here. So I've been wanting, let me see here, not breaking up on my end. I don't know. I've been having some weird internet problems. Maybe it'll settle out now that I'm streaming a little bit more. But yeah, I do know that can be a problem. Probably won't be easy traveling in a vehicle. Yeah, it's going to get worse. It's going to get harder to travel in a vehicle, Quebec woodcraft. But yeah, there is a process, and I'm probably going to do a video on how to, and I need to find the form, the customs form. And I had to go out and declare it. So Jack back. Can you get credit cards and loan in Mexico when you are a temporary residency visa? Actually, Jackie back. I got a bank account and I had a large balance, and they gave me a credit card. You have to establish a credit history here and there. But if you have temporary residency and you can get a bank account, sometimes they'll offer you a credit card if you have a high balance. And I had a high balance in my credit card when I was building the house, because I was transferring money to make the payments for the house, and they offered me a credit card with a limit on it, and that was BBVA. But now I haven't tried to get a loan here. Loans are available here. The interest rates are really high on a credit card too. Here's the other thing, Jackie back. We have a credit card for the sake of just having a credit card in Mexico. for that works in Mexico. The interest rates here are like 20%, not a year, but 20% a month. We're talking 20% a month. We're talking literally almost 100% interest by the end of the year on credit cards. It's outrageous. Okay, so what we do is we actually use the credit card and then we pay it off. And then also another advantage of credit cards is like sometimes on Amazon or at wherever you go, they'll say, "Do you want it in payments?" So you can pay it over 12 months. But we always pay off the balance or the minimum, not the minimum. There's a minimum payment and a minimum payment to avoid interest if you're doing payments in months. That's why we have the credit card. I've done a couple of payments in months where we do it over the months, but we pay off the credit card at the end of the month because interest, you'll end up paying just as much interest in on the credit card as you put on the credit card. So it's very, very expensive here. If you do get a credit card, the best thing to do is get a debit card. We've been dealing with a debit card our whole time. And the only thing is we figured we'd get a convenience of a credit card. But the only thing I use it for is stuff that we can pay out, going to the grocery store or whatever. I get points on the credit card and I pay it off at the end of the month. So that's where not breaking up on my end. Only the audio. Yes, only the audio. Buck stops here. When I flew into Mexico, I had my backpack with iPad and iPhone. Luckily, they were able to do my online work without a laptop. Yeah, and actually, you're allowed several phones. I need to look at what you're allowed, but you are allowed several cell phones. I think 2 or 3. And also you're allowed an iPad, but there's now a laptop. But now they're counting the laptop as and there was a lot of gray areas on it. People used to bring in desktop computers and say, "This is my laptop, this is my only computer that I'm bringing into Mexico," and they never used to give you a hard time. Other times, actually, Tangerine Travels did a video on this, things that you shouldn't do in Mexico. He didn't declare. He was told that, oh, if I bring in 2 laptops, and this was an old thing that used to happen in Mexico City. If I bring in 2 laptops, um, um, if I bring old one, I can declare it and pay taxes on the old one or something to that effect. And he brought in the 2 laptops, he declared them, and they said, "No, you have to pay taxes on the new laptop, not the old one." So but that was a long time ago. So you can understand that at one time they were like, "Oh, if you bring in a used laptop and a brand new laptop, you can say, I just bought this one and this is my old laptop," and they wouldn't do nothing. But now they are actually charging fines, and they're a tax revenue collecting agency. You need to understand that SAT is part of the tax revenue service. The aduanas are part of the tax revenue collecting agency of SAT, and they will charge you the taxes. If you bring in 2 laptops, they're going to charge you the taxes on the more expensive one because their job is to try to collect as much money as possible. So, okay, you turned me off and came back, and the audio was okay. Well, that's great to hear. Thanks, Quebec Woodcraft. Does anybody? I don't have any videos that I put together. I do have some scripts that I was working on when I don't know how relevant they're going to be because I was working on them with my son when I was taking care of my son. But I'm going to try to record them this next week. I'm going to have a live stream on Sunday, trying to get back into the Sunday thing, the every Sunday thing. So will see me on every Sunday again. Hopefully, I won't have to leave again. But I don't think we're not going back to Monterrey anytime soon. And well, we have to go back to sign the papers on the escrituras on the house. But we sold back, like I said, we sold the house back to the contractors. So that's one of the things that's kind of new. We're coming up on a new administration. Of course, they're asking for a minimum wage increase. We have the same party in power. So not sure if the formula is going to change, but we're going to see increases in the temporary and permanent residency requirements. Regularization, nobody knows. It was supposed to go away a couple of years ago or 2 years ago, and it hasn't. It keeps going. I don't know politically what's going on with that, why they're doing it. I have my suspicions, but I think this immigration is just basically saying, "Hey, exterior relations, you're making it too hard, so we're going to make it easier." I hope that's what I hope, and maybe they might keep it going. But apparently, this program is supposed to be reevaluated every 6 months. So we're coming up on December. If you qualify for the regularization program, get it done quick. Get it done before the end of the year, because if for some reason they don't approve it for the following year, then we might have an issue. You might have an issue of trying to qualify for the resident for the program. Um, so those are the things that I see that's brand new. We have the new president that came into power while I was away. Um, it seems like she has a lot of different priorities. A lot of the priorities are the same. Uh, a lot of the priorities are the same. Uh, Now, this president's a little bit more into environmental awareness. Actually, one of the plans, they're going to, the current administration is going to help fund an actual electric car designed, manufactured here in Mexico. And one of the things, and the reason why is this new president's into renewable, sustainable energy. So that's one of the projects. But a lot of the social programs are still uh, going forward. And like I said, number 100 on our list is security. So we're going to have to see how it works out. Right now, there's a lot of unrest in the Sinaloa area, Culiacan area, because of course the rest of Mile Zambada, there's a lot of struggle for power right now. So it's a war zone down there. So please don't travel down into that area. Um, so we'll have to see how the safety thing works out. Now, does that mean I don't want to live here no more? That somehow San Miguel de Allende or San Luis, True Travelers of Mexico or whatever is going to become super? No, it's. Let me put it this way: there's still. What I'm going to do is change my habits to flying instead of driving. Um, Not only is it bad, you might get bad security wise, as far as your personal safety. It may get bad uh, as far as, because most people take 57 and that's a main route for trucks. And I'm not kidding you. The last 3 times we've gone up there, we've run into accidents. One accident was so bad they shut down the toll road, and we had to go through the Libre, because they shut down because they couldn't get any traffic through. These are trucks, tractor trailers that turn over, blow up, all sorts of stuff. So it's getting a little bit more dangerous on the road. A lot more truck traffic. We're seeing it's changing a lot. So you're looking at your personal safety as far as accidents too. It's not just someone's going to rob you or kidnap you or whatever you might want to say. Um, you you're probably going to see an increase in that, and we're seeing an increase in that even in car accidents and truck accidents. Um, Even in Monterrey, there's the main toll road. Several trucks have turned over and exploded, basically. Hopefully, actually, Two Travelers in Mexico, we took a loss in a sense. We bought a lot of stuff, a lot of furniture. We're going to be selling a lot of that stuff here in San Miguel. Um, we're putting it up for sale, some of the furniture and stuff that we weren't able to get rid of over there. But we didn't take a loss as far as what we put into the house. Um, we took a loss as far as time. And we did take a loss as far as money too, but it wasn't like we had to sell the house back for 1,000,000 pesos less than what we paid or out of our pocket. We were able to come up, and actually we put in extra money in all these extra stuff, all the extras, and we were able to recoup that cost and the extras. Usually if they say we're going to give you a refund, but we're only going to give you a refund for what you paid, but they're going to buy it back for, and also our house in the year that we built it, or the 2 years, it increased a lot, increased in value. The construction increased in value. So they took that into consideration and giving us the money back. That's what saved us, though. Not giving us some, purchasing it back from us, technically, but that's what saved us too, because the house is worth probably 2 million more than what we put into it, or a million more than what we put into it, given the 2 years in appreciation. So they'll be able to sell it for more money than and we come out even, basically. I heard something about getting free Mexican health insurance and they want to stop it. Kavik Woodcraft, there's a lot of this. Okay, the public healthcare system here in Mexico has kind of been, there used to be, okay, there's three separate public healthcare systems. Otherwise, if you're not in the private healthcare system, you need to pay cash up front, or you have to have insurance, some type of real insurance, private insurance, not real insurance. Then you have the IMSS system, the ISTE system, ISTE. But the ISTE system is for government employees, people that are employed by the government. They get free healthcare, and they have their own healthcare system. It's part of the public healthcare system, but it's treated differently. Then you have IMSS. IMSS is people that are under Seguro Social. In other words, if you're a worker and you've worked, it's kind of like Medicare, I want to say. Seguro Social is translating in English is Social Security, but the program of Seguro Social is not the same as it is in the United States. But it kind of the same concept that your employer pays part of this tax, or pays this tax for you, and then you're eligible to get free healthcare, which is IMSS. And then but let's say you haven't worked, if you're an expat or you're an immigrant, whatever you want to say. Oh, great. Thanks for subscribing. And I know who that is. Slow Travel Across the World. Hey, I just subscribed to your channel, by the way. Great videos, slow across the world, travel across the world. But what I was saying is that I know it's Jim. I'm in Dallas right now. I actually miss Mexico a little bit. And actually, Jim, go to his channel and subscribe. Jim is Clifford is basically they lived in San Luis, and he was one of my administrators on my Facebook group. And not only that, but him and his wife decided that they're going to travel across Europe and Asia in the next 2 years, hopping, kind of living in different places, all the way across Europe and Asia. So if you want to follow their travels, actually, Jim put up a YouTube channel. He's got 2 videos. 2 videos out so far, but go subscribe to his channel. You know what? He lives in Mexico, and he lived in Mexico, but Mexico's still in his heart. But they're going to do a great adventure, and I told Jim to make sure to keep sending pictures and posting on his Facebook. But now that he's gotten into YouTube, we'll be able to see his adventures. Hopefully, you keep it up, Jim. And I want to see those adventures come across. Our YouTube channels and stuff. But as I was explaining, I'll get back to in IMSS, if you didn't work here, there's a way of opting in, and it's based on age, and it's like $600 a year. The only thing is, it's not the best healthcare in the world, but there are a lot of expats that do opt in. But here's the thing: you have to get a physical. If you have any pre-existing conditions, they don't let you in at all. It's like, even if you take cholesterol pills, it's like you're out. Some people have been lucky enough just to get the right doctor that lets them in, but the public healthcare system, they assign you a certain clinic. You have to go there. You have to wait in line. All of that stuff. It's now some of the private healthcare doctors do work in the public system. There's waiting periods when you want to have surgery or you need to have surgery. It's not the best in the world, not like private healthcare. Then they had this thing called Insabi, which is the free healthcare. The problem with that, and that was for disadvantaged people that don't have any money, that they're disadvantaged and all of that stuff. That Insabi healthcare system has kind of been non-existent, or existent in some places and non-existent in others. So that's when they talk about wanting to stop it. You're not going to stop Seguro Social or IMSS, and you're not going to stop ESTE. What we're having an issue with here in Mexico or with the healthcare system is for the disadvantaged people. The people that don't work or haven't worked or don't have a work history or never paid into Seguro Social, they don't have IMSS or they haven't worked long enough to get IMSS or they're not working currently. That's the free healthcare. And the administration, the last administration, basically promised healthcare for all, and even for the economically disadvantaged. But it's kind of been on paper. Let's say it exists on paper, but you go to an Insabi clinic now, even if they exist, some of them don't even exist. They gave that over to the states. Some of the states said we don't even want to deal with it. Deanna J, great to see you too, Gianna. Um, so that's the issue that we're having with free healthcare right now. But the free healthcare is really for the economically disadvantaged. It's part of the Bienestar program. Um, and like I said, it's kind of non-existent, if at all. And there's some really, I did some videos on the differences between the different programs. But the problem with Insabi, and Insabi used to be called, if anybody's lived here for a while, Seguro Popular. It used to be called Seguro Popular, but they got rid of Seguro Popular and supposedly instituted this free healthcare system, but it never really worked. If you're an expat that really needs insurance, somewhat like Medicare's, but you don't go to any doctor. You have to go to the IMSS doctor, and you have to get referrals and all of this stuff. Um, so you need to qualify too, but it is a nominal fee a year. Diana, I'm curious how cold it gets where you are at now. What month is the coolest? Actually, Diana, right now it's in the 70s and 80s during the day. Um, and it's getting down into the 50s at night. Um, it's very comfortable. We sleep with our windows open. We don't have air condition. And then it gets cool enough at night or even during the day, there's enough of a breeze when it gets a little bit warmer or hot. There's enough of a breeze to circulate the air. We do have some evaporative cooling systems, the portable ones that when it gets really hot. As far as cold, it probably gets the coldest in December and January, February, the wintertime. But you're looking at usually it'll get up into the 70s during the day. We don't have very many freezes. It usually gets into the 40s at night. And maybe once during the whole season, it'll get down into the 30s where you have freezing temperatures. But it's nothing that, to be honest with you, I don't own a heavy jacket here or a coat here, not jacket. I wear a jacket everywhere I go during the day. The house does get cold. I mean, sometimes we have to use a portable heater, but it doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't snow. It doesn't actually. It doesn't get into freezing temperatures. Probably in the 40s at night. During the day, it'll probably reach up to the 70s. Very comfortable 70s. I always say this is kind of like San Diego weather all year round. It's pretty much beautiful weather. And if you like rain, it rains a lot during the rainy season. So even though it's summertime, a lot of times during the rainy season, it's supposed to be hot. It's cloud covered. It's overcast. So pretty much all year round, it's the same weather. To be honest with you, you're talking about 80s and 90s versus 70s and 80s. It probably goes down 10 degrees in the wintertime. And that's the coldest months are going to be December, January. I'll tell you what, a lot of people that come here from Canada will tell you that it's great here. They love the weather here. We had a couple of people from Canada say they came here to San Miguel just to get away from the weather, but at the same time they don't want the hot weather because the hot is too hot. I mean, they're not used to it. So a lot of people from up north, northern United States, Canada, come here to San Miguel and settle in because it's not too cold, but not too hot. So you get away from the blizzards and the cold weather and the 0 degrees and negative degrees, but at the same time, you don't you don't you don't it doesn't get too cold. So it's very nice and comfortable. Sounds very nice. I'm heading south in December. Usually land in Puebla and then visit other states. Great. Actually, Puebla. I think Puebla is pretty much the central part of Mexico. Is pretty much we're kind of in the mount. We're in the highlands. Okay, so we're about 6,000 feet above sea level here, or 5,500 to 6,000 feet above sea level here, and it's very dry. It's a desert type climate in the sense that not desert it's dry climate. It's and so it so because of the elevation. Now the sun is very 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 strong. What I mean by very strong, I mean we're talking about. I mean you'll get sunburned or whatever being out all day long. Not that you feel it, but it's very strong as far as the UV rays because you're higher up in elevation. And this happens anywhere you go where there's mountains. And then, so you get, I always say, I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Pretty much the summers here are like the summers in Santa Fe, but you don't have the winters like you do in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Santa Fe, New Mexico, it snows and it gets very, 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 very cold. But not like up north. We don't get blizzards, but we get snow and cold weather and everything else. Um, but here, it's like pretty much, and it's a comfortable. Even when we go out at night, all I need is a good, nice, heavy jacket, and I'm fine. Uh, and during the day, uh, I'm even going out there in the mornings because it's like it gets like at 60, and then maybe at about 11 o'clock, the sun comes out and it starts getting around 80, 70s. It raises, but I'm walking outside in the 60-degree weather. It's beautiful here, and when we go in the mornings. So I mean, you'll like it. December, depending on where you go, uh, you should get some good climate. Now Puebla, I think, is a little bit higher in elevation, so it may be a little bit colder. To be honest with you, Deanna, I'm not too familiar with Puebla. Um, that's one of those things that's one of the things on my to-do list. We did go to the state of Oaxaca, but I also want to go to Oaxaca. Um, I want to go to Oaxaca, the city of Oaxaca. We still need to go to Mexico City. I've been to Mexico City, but it was for work, and I did get to go to the pyramids, and I got to go to the cathedral and everything else, but that was just come, go, and real quick, in and out. I didn't get to enjoy Mexico City like I could have. So we want to make a trip to Mexico City. So, and Blaine, you're in Mexico City. I thought you were in the Baja area, but I guess you moved. I don't know if Blaine's still here. Um, you said you were from Mexico City, Mexico, or unless you're actually in Mexico City traveling. But I don't know what else to say here, but other than leave comments and when I schedule the live stream. I scheduled the stream today because I wasn't sure. The problem that I have right now is we're trying to unpack. We're trying to get a bunch of stuff out of boxes. We had the moving people come yesterday. I was going to do it yesterday, but then the moving people came. They dropped off a bunch of stuff. We're trying to, and then not only that, I have family coming in November, so we have to clean up everything and get everything squared away by November. So we're just adjusting. uh, oh, okay. You're still living in La Paz. Okay. Preparing to visit the different pyramids and ruins. Yeah, actually, I did get to visit the pyramids. Lane is pretty neat. Now, I got to visit the pyramids back in early 2000s, and actually that I was able to climb up the pyramids. You can't climb up the pyramids anymore. um, that's uh, unheard of now. Yeah, for so many people have climbed up and down them that they don't let anybody climb up them. I know that they're saying that in Mexico City they don't let you climb up the pyramids anymore. Okay, I'm breaking up in audio again. um, Yeah, I can see also where I kind of flicker on my video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to downgrade. I think I have it set to 4K and I'm streaming in 4K. But I'm thinking that my routers aren't, I just got back and I haven't really synced everything. So I'll probably be putting it back out in 1080 so I don't have to worry about the breaking up part. I'm sorry about it if my audio's been breaking up, but I'm going to call it a night, I guess. Unless anybody else has a question that they like answered. Um, anything about the new president? Uh, anything now? The other thing, I close you and come back. Okay. The other thing, and it might be an issue with YouTube too. The other thing I want to mention too is I did a video on bringing pets in. Uh, and I've been seeing feedback where people are going across. Well, now here's the thing: if you fly, they're going to ask you for all the paperwork because the airlines. You need to understand that the airlines can get fined by customs in the United States. So if someone brings in a dog without the paperwork and all of that stuff, the airline will get in trouble and they face real huge fines. And that's why they won't let you get on the plane without checking out with immigration, all of that stuff, because they don't want to get in trouble or fined. So if you're flying out, they're going to make you do the paperwork anyway and have your dog chipped and all of that stuff. The most important part is that import export form. As long as you have the receipt and it lasts for 6 months, you should be able to come and go. Now I do know that I've been getting reports from the different people that, oh, I crossed across. I even asked the customs guy about my dog, and he's like, we don't care about that. So you need to understand that the customs inspectors, this is a CDC regulation and it's enforced. If it's going to be enforced, it's going to be enforced by agriculture. And agriculture sometimes is there. Sometimes the inspectors don't care. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, I need to see your form. Now, I do know in San Diego, probably a month before, they were warning people that were coming across with dogs. Hey, in a month, you're going to have to fill out your paperwork. Here's the advice that I have for everybody, because a lot of people are saying, "Nah, they're not checking. They're not checking." And I can vouch on the land border. A lot of times they don't check. A lot of times when you even go into Mexico, they don't check a lot, or sometimes they check a lot. Now, right now, in the last couple of times when we were in McAllen, we crossed the land border. Everybody was getting stopped. Everybody was getting red lighted. They have a red light, green light system, but most of the time, 80% of the time, you get the red, green light and you just keep going. They don't even search your car. And then coming back into the United States, hey, United States citizen, yeah, do you have any drugs? Do you have anything else? Well, we're just looking for, and the dog didn't alert to your car. Yeah, just keep going, because we got a line, and a lot of the lines too are so long, they need to get people through. So unless you are suspicious for some reason, they let you go. But don't count on that. Um, don't count on that at all. Uh, Here's the catch. If you do get that one inspector that says, where's your dog import form? And you don't have it, and your dog's not chipped, and they send you and they're going to say, turn around and go back home. And most people that are coming in through the land borders have been driving from Cancun for 3 days, or driving from San Miguel for 2 days, or driving from long distances. And the last thing you'll want to hear is turn around and go back home. Okay. So we're not letting you in. So the problem is with this regulation is it doesn't look like it's getting enforced, to be honest with you. But even though it looks like it's not getting enforced, the minute it gets enforced, or the minute you find, or the minute an agriculture guy is there, or a CDC guy is there, because I don't know, for whatever reason, and I worked for the government, I worked in the area of customs, I know this happens. We're going to hit McAllen, Texas, and we're going to start asking every person that comes in with a dog for their CDC form, and they just do it just to do it. And I don't know, to get to convince the administration that they're doing their job. If that happens and you show up, they turn you around and tell you to go back home. So fill out the form, and it's good for 6 months. And so if you're going to come in 2 or 3 times in a period of 6 months, you only have to fill out the form once. And one of the things that I tell people is you always need to be aware of these rules. And it doesn't matter if they say, You can go to an expat group and all the expats tell you, no, nobody, I passed last week. Nobody asked me. I passed last week. This is what happens with coming into Mexico. I got my 180 days. I got my 180 days. I got my 100. And everybody in the expat group on, hey, I'm worried about my 180 days. Everybody replies, nah, don't worry about it. I got my 180 days. Then they come in and they say, oh, I want 180 days. No, sorry, you only get 60 or you only get 7 or 10. And then what happened? I thought everybody told me I got my 180 days. So you got to kind of be aware of the rules. You got to be aware that the 180 days is at the inspector's discretion. So maybe out of the 50 people that replied they got 180 days, they had a cool inspector that said, or most inspectors give you 180 days. But just so happens you catch the one inspector that doesn't give you 180 days because you've been coming and going too much. That's the thing. That's the issue with CDC. You can go and 50 people can tell you they passed their dog through with no problems. But the one time that you come across and you don't have your form and they tell you to go back home, I don't think the consequences of some of these things, when it's as simple as filling out a form, okay, and chipping your dog. The ISO standard chip, it sounds like a big deal, but all you need to do is find out that the ISO standard chip it's 15 digits. You just tell the vet, put a chip in my dog. They put them in here in Mexico, and it needs to be able to be read. And you just put that chip number in your form. And not only that, but it serves that if they ever find your dog, they can scan the chip. It's not a big deal for Mexico. We're not in a high-risk country, so you don't have to show proof of rabies. I would still take all my paperwork with me. We always take, whenever we bring our dogs across, we take our paperwork with us. This is before we don't intend to take our dogs back across, but when we were going back and forth, because I had the house in New Mexico, but we sold it. So just be aware of these things. Now, if you want to take the chance, you don't have your dog chipped and you go across and you get across, cool. But if you don't get across, and here's the thing, if you don't get your dog chipped and you don't have the chip, maybe they might say you can't come in. Okay, well, I'll turn around, stay in a hotel, and I'll fill out the form online and print out my receipt and go back. Okay, but if you don't have your dog chipped, you don't have a chip number to put there, and if they read the chip and it doesn't come out to your form, it's kind of like the honor system. You could have issues. Now, are they enforcing it? It looks like they're not. It looks like customs. The thing is that customs, when you go across the border, now, are they enforcing it with the airlines? Yes, they are. Most airlines, I've even have stories of people that were denied boarding because their dog did not have their dog denied boarding because their dog did not have the proper paperwork. Now, most of the time when you travel by air, there's a lot more, requirements by the airlines. So just make sure you meet all those requirements. But if you're crossing the the Mexico border, now if you live in Tijuana and you try to go across and one day they let you through and the next day they tell you to go back home and, okay, well, I live in Tijuana, I'm just going 5 minutes back home. It makes sense. I'm not saying, but you're better off just filling out the form. That's another thing that I forgot to tell everybody because I do try to keep people up to date. And one of the things that I'm keeping up to date is it looks like it's not being enforced. So take it for what it's worth. But even though I'm telling you it's not being enforced, I'm not telling you don't worry about it because you can always meet that one person. And trust me, I was in that job. I know what it was. I wasn't in as an inspector, but I was the investigator that would show up when somebody did something wrong or criminal. So I have a very unique insight into how customs works in the United States. And I'm telling you, even on catching drug loads, one day they just get lucky because I don't know, there was something bad about this guy. I didn't like the way he talked to me. I sent him into secondary and he had a load of drugs. Sometimes it's as simple as that. So it's the same thing with your dog, the same thing with all the stuff that you're bringing into the United States. And the worst thing you can ever do with a customs inspector is not declare something and then them find out that you have it. because there's certain things you need to declare. Uh, Trump threatens 200% tariff on all cars imported from Mexico. Yeah, Quebec. Actually, Trump wants to put a tariff on everything coming from Mexico. Actually, not just from Mexico, but from all the countries. His tax plan, I don't get involved in politics in the United States because I don't live there anymore. Um, his tax plan is, in order to reduce taxes, his idea is to, back in many years ago, the government didn't have income tax. And actually, this goes back into the history of the Customs Service. When I learned the history of the Customs Service before we were Homeland Security. But we used to collect revenue in the United States by charging duties and import tariffs. Okay, so that's how we collected our revenue. That was the taxes. So what Trump is saying is basically, if we do the same system, and also in Mexico, most of their revenue comes from import tariffs. That's why we were talking about the laptop. Remember, we were talking about the laptop getting charged import tariffs. So most countries are actually they have what they call a value added tax, and they also have import duties. And what Trump wants to do is say, okay, we're going to charge tariffs. First of all, but here's the thing: it's going to be really mess with the auto industry, because Ford, Chevrolet, a lot of U.S. companies. But Trump's idea is, if the U.S. companies, if we charge 200% tariffs on, or I don't even know, he said 20% on some other stuff, but if we charge these tariffs, manufacturers will come back to the United States. That's the idea on the cars. The manufacturers that manufacture in Mexico, and the free trade agreement, believe it or not, is going to expire next year. So the new president is going to have to renew that. Whoever it is, whoever gets elected. And one of the things is, actually, Trump, I think, tried to get out of the free trade agreement. But Trump's idea is, number one, you bring the jobs back because it'll be too expensive to import a car. And then number two, you collect tariffs, which brings back, you don't have to pay income taxes. Here's the fallacy with that. And before the free trade was good for jobs. And actually, here's the thing too, there's also a big paranoia that China's going to somehow infiltrate the United States. I hate to say this, but they already have. I mean, I mean, your iPhone's made in China, Taiwan and China and Hong Kong and all of these areas. We import goods, and not we, I'm in Mexico, but in the United States import so many goods from China. I don't even know what people would do without their iPhone if all of a sudden they said you can't have your iPhone. But the thing is that the idea is increase these tariffs so you pay less income tax. But the problem is, here's the other problem, is that prices, if you put a 20% tariff on an iPhone coming in from China, then guess what's going to happen? That iPhone's going to cost 20% more, because I don't think Apple's going to lose 20% in their revenue. So I don't know if this will work. I don't know if he will be successful at doing it. He already tried to pull out of the free trade agreement when he was president, but apparently he couldn't, or he didn't end up doing it. But he's in a position to pull out of the free trade agreement if Trump does win the elections. Also, the United States has talked about levying tariffs. Now, I do know that the Biden administration has levied tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles because, a Tesla, if you buy a Chinese electric vehicle, it costs $20,000 or $10,000 to $20,000 less than a Tesla. So they're trying to protect their U.S. interest. And a lot of U.S. car makers are actually trying to make electric vehicles. So how are you going to compete, GM, Ford, with your electric vehicle if your electric vehicle costs $100,000 and someone can produce, import, and bring in a Chinese vehicle for $30,000 or $20,000 and sell you an electric vehicle or a hybrid vehicle? So that's one thing. So I'm not sure if, even if Trump doesn't win with these import and export taxes, I'm not sure how the new administration was going to handle this. To be honest with you, I don't know. There's another thing that uh, a lot of times the U.S. does. Um, a lot of things that the U.S. does is they use these, this free. They're going to probably use the free trade agreement. I know that this administration is very concerned about the judicial reforms here because they went to an elected system instead of an appointed lifetime system, which some argue is good, some argue is bad. Um, yeah, to be honest with you, I think there's corruption in the judiciary, no matter which way you look at it, elected or I was from a state that it was elected, and a lot of judges went to prison for malpractice, and you have Supreme Court justices now accepting gifts. I mean, the corruption is just different. So I don't know which one's better, but the United States is very concerned, and they've threatened with trade, and that's their biggest. The United States' biggest leverage. So if Trump gets in, or if Harris gets in, heaven knows. We're going to have to see, and we don't know how the right now this party that's in power is very nationalistic and very. The last president was very adamant to be able to say, screw you, United States. They were. He did it many times. I don't know how this president's going to be. She's a little bit more politically correct, a lot more educated. She's got a PhD. So I don't know how she's going to handle it. But it seems like she is towing the party line as far as on the Mexican side. We're just going to have to see what happens on the U.S. side. And I think car makers in Mexico will still be great because the number of people moving to Mexico has gone up. And I think VW and other companies will still do well. Yes, and they will. And actually, BYD, there's 3 Chinese companies that are coming into Mexico with their inexpensive Chinese electric vehicles, and they're very popular because they're selling for a lot less than a Ford or a Mercedes or a BMW or whatever. But even the American cars, usually like Kia, Ford, you can kind of get them. GM, some of the GM vehicles that are manufactured here, because they're exported and then imported, re-imported, they don't pay taxes, so you can kind of get the same prices you get in the United States. I pretty much paid for my Jeep Cherokee the same amount. The only difference is you don't pay with a loan; you have to pay out front. And these more inexpensive vehicles are becoming very popular, and they're very good vehicles. BYD, just Beyond Your Dreams, is a Chinese car company, and they're producing vehicles, trucks, electric hybrid trucks that are actually faster than the Ranger Raptor from 0 to 60, and it's a hybrid. You can run it on electricity or gas, and it goes up to 1,000 kilometers on one tank, a small tank of gas. And the truck is $50,000. Where in the United States are you going to find a pickup truck for 50 grand? And especially a hybrid or an electric or whatever. So they're very competitive in that market, and you're going to see that. And even if those trucks or vehicles never make it to the United States, which I doubt they will, no matter what administration gets in, no matter what administration gets in, I don't think they're going to let Chinese vehicles, because they have to protect the U.S. car industry. I mean, because they're going to bring in a car to compete with Tesla that's half the price. Who in the United States ain't going to buy a half price car, especially with the price of a Tesla now, or the price of the electric vehicles? The problem that the U.S. has with their electric vehicles, GM, Ford, they've had to put a lot of research into them, and the thing that the Chinese are good at doing is they put research and development, but they don't pass the cost down to the consumer. The way they see it is that we get as many of those vehicles out on the road, and more people will buy them, and eventually we'll recoup our cost. So we end up making a profit in the end. So if I give you a car for, what happens in the United States is it costs us so much money to build this car. In order to turn a profit, we have to charge $100,000 for the car. So, and what the Chinese do is they will take a $50,000 loss on the car on the first million units, but the next million units we're going to make a heck of a profit. So that's the way it works. It's kind of hard to, you know, uh, argue with that. And yeah, Nissan, actually, Diana, Nissan is also very, very competitively priced here. Um, and the reason why they are is they have plants here. Kia, Nissan, Chevrolet, Ford, our Jeep Cherokee, we got it for pretty much the same price as you would pay in the United States. Actually, we got it for cheaper. We got a deal on it. We got it for cheaper than the Jeep Cherokees in the United States, when we were purchased ours, they only had 6-cylinder engines. This one that we purchased has an 8-cylinder Hemi engine in it, and it cost as much as the 6-cylinder engine. And you would have paid $4,000 or $5,000 more for the 8-cylinder engine. I don't even know if they make the only 8-cylinder engine Cherokees that they make now in the United States at that time was the SRT and the Trackhawk, or they're real high end vehicles. So we actually got a better deal. So yes, the U.S. Democratic Party lawmakers raised concerns about Chinese auto companies like BYD with deep ties. Yes, posing cyber threats to Mexico and the U.S. And that is, like I said, it's not just a threat of spying on you or whatever. It's an economic threat. It's a big economic threat. That's why, and actually you made a comment, might have an iPhone made in the USA. The problem with, and actually, believe it or not, TMC, which is one of the companies that makes chips for the iPhone, they were able to start a plant in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona. So you're starting to see these companies move over here. So they're starting to see the future. But the problem is we're going to see these companies, are they going to be able to produce the chips cheap enough to still be able to give us an iPhone for the same price? The iPhone's already expensive. I mean, I'm looking at upgrading right now, and it's like $1,500 for a new phone. I mean, I've had my 13 for 3 or 4 years, and can you imagine if that phone starts costing $2,000, $3,000? That's where they're a big economic threat, to be honest with you. And these companies like BYD, like I said, it's a big economic threat. I mean, you can actually bankrupt, believe it or not, if you bring in these vehicles, you can actually bankrupt the U.S. government. Not the U.S. government in a sense, but you can bankrupt these companies that are going to have a windfall effect. And the United States is going to have to start or these companies that are putting out their electric cars are going to have to start changing their strategies and being able to compete, or you just won't see Chinese vehicles in the U.S. They won't be making it there. And the only thing that might happen is if they start make the thing with customs import, you need to understand, even if it's coming through Mexico, okay, there's a free trade, but the free trade agreement is with Mexico, not with China. Okay, when you have this thing called country of origin, it's a real long thing drawn out that I'm not going to explain. But if the country of origin is China, even if you bring it in through Mexico, you're going to still pay a duty. Okay, the company's still going to pay a duty. It may be a little bit less. Okay, but it's still going to it's not going to be less. It's going to be the same amount of money. So the country of origin, if you have a BYD that's all the parts are shipped from China, it's assembled here in Mexico. Even if you try to get it across Mexico, even though there's a free trade agreement, no, that car is from China. So therefore, that's how they can enforce it. What a lot of companies are doing, or Chinese companies are doing, and they're coming here to Mexico, is that they are actually coming closer to the United States because it's expensive to bring all of that stuff across the seas on barges and everything else. What better than to manufacture it right next door? That's where they're getting their savings. And even though the price of labor might be more expensive here, the price of labor and having a factory here is cheaper, and they're gonna increase their profits by having. It's called nearshoring. is basically what a lot of companies are doing. And it's not just China, it's a lot of companies that import things into the United States. So, um, and a lot of these threats or whatever cyber threats, I think the biggest threat to the United States is not just cyber and that they're going to somehow invade you. The biggest threat of China is their economic dominance in the world. And China is not dominating people with armies. They're not dominating people with taking over countries with armies. They're doing it economically. And that's where I think a lot of people need to understand. Um, they're not a military threat in a sense, but they are an economic threat. And I think that the United States has seen that. So I don't think whichever administration gets in, either one's going to have to address that issue. And there's too many interested. I mean, the United States is based on consumerism, and it's also based on these companies and corporations, U.S. corporations and companies. And those companies go under, we have issues. As a matter of fact, the last economic, when I remember back in 2008 or when was it? I don't remember the last economic breakdown. Ford, Chrysler, they all got bailout packages. When the banks went under, the banks got bailed out. But the reason why they got bailed out is because the government had to keep them operating, or else you have a snowball effect. But I mean, that's I got a little bit off topic. It might have a little bit to do with Mexico, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to get off right now. My hour's up. I will be scheduling something for Sunday, same time, and hopefully getting some videos out. Probably going to be slow on the videos because like I said, I have to unpack. I got a lot of stuff to do. We need to settle into San Miguel, and hopefully I'll get more steady. My life lately, since probably 6 months, for the last 6 months, have been a hot mess. Not a hot mess in a bad way. It's been in a good way. But like I said, I tell everybody I do this for free. This is my hobby, and my priorities are my family and my personal life, and then of course you guys. And I put you guys high up in my priority list, but I have to take care of myself. I can't take care of everybody unless I take care of myself first. So, and I don't make money off this, so it's not like I have to keep it going to the point where I need 100,000 subscribers or 200,000 and 50,000 views. And that's why I'm very comfortable doing what I do. See you on Sunday, Blaine. Stephanie, see you. Cable Woodcraft, see you. We'll see you soon. And like I always say, and I say it always, until next time, most importantly, stay safe and stay informed.